Hey, it's Holly. We are doing the 50th episode of The Real. So we're switching it up. I'm doing the intro here. I'm actually going to be interviewing Austin today. It's been 50 episodes. If you've tuned in for one, or maybe this is your first, you're going to get to know a little bit more about Austin. Maybe you've gleaned a little bit, but here we go. So, Austin, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me on this week's episode of The Real.
How does it feel to be in the other seat today?
I enjoy talking about the story, so I kind of am looking forward to it.
All right, well, let's just go back to the beginning here.
Okay.
Share a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up,
Yep.
what you did as a kid, and, well, let's just start there.
So, grew up in Rothschild, Wisconsin, and grew up going to Rothschild Elementary School. Was always big into like baseball, right? Spent a lot of time outdoors growing up as a kid. Had just an amazing family. I'm the youngest of three. Learned a lot. So obviously you're my older sister and then an older brother. So I feel like I learned a lot growing up being the youngest. Kind of learned from your mistakes. And
Thanks.
well, your and Josh's mistakes, right? Like I could see how when they did things wrong, they would get, disciplined, and so kind of gleaned something from that. Also kind of had developed a little bit of toughness too growing up because you guys would always pick on me.
It's true. I mean, the youngest one always got away with everything, so you had to have a little guff from us every now and again.
Everything. That's funny.
Oh, okay. So childhood was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
It was pretty easy for you. You hardly had any responsibility around the house with us two taking care of everything.
Right.
So now let's fast forward into the high school years and then on to college.
Yep.
Kind of just share what that looked like.
Yeah. So high school days were good. I played, baseball and ran cross country, played a little bit of basketball, and then swam for just a short stint. So that was fun. It was a lot of fun. High school, interesting time of life. I think, everyone's trying to figure out what they want to do, who they are. I'd be the first to say, like, I didn't really enjoy high school that much, to be honest. Some aspects of it, like, I liked a lot of it, but I just felt like there was so much, pressure to, like, figure out what you wanted to do and, hey, you got to get good grades, and hey, you have to be a great athlete. Like, you have to do all these things. And and you're also trying to figure out, like, everything else. So I didn't really enjoy that aspect of high school. But I think I found, I started a lawn care business sophomore year of high school, and I really enjoyed that. I started with 5 lawns, and then over the course of the next few years, junior year, senior year, started mowing, 10, 15, 20 lawns during the summer. So I really enjoyed that. And I just took pride in that. I always have gotten energy from a job well done. And so I was running the lawn care business while I was doing school and playing sports. It was a lot to balance, but I really thrived in that kind of entrepreneurial environment, self-employment kind of environment. Yeah.
So when did you start out in real estate? When did that transition kind of happen between lawn care, real estate?
Yeah. So I graduated from high school in 2015. So summer of 2015 was continuing to do real estate. I started at UWMC. Now it's UWSP Wausau, right? Mm-hmm. It's a 2-year extension to the UW. The 4-year universities. This is kind of like an extension, like a 2-year college. So I started there in the fall of 2015, and my thought was, I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It was the summer of 2015. Side story is, I got to tell this story. So I was interacting with, there was kind of like this business that we had at the senior year of school, and it was DC Everest Table Toppers. You were a part of that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was DC Everest Table Toppers, where you go out and sell like promotional space. It's like a school-based business, right? It gets you going. And anyway, so I was having a conversation with a roofer, a local business, and he had bought an ad for $500 in the shopper, and we were at El Tequila Salsa, and he had gotten some food, and I'm like, man, he bought the ad, like he spent $500. Like, should I pick up lunch? And it was probably like $35. So I'm like, as a high school kid, you're like, I don't know if I really don't want to pick it up. Like, that's a lot of money, but he did just buy an ad. So anyway, I'm like, yeah, I better pick it up. So I picked it up, but he wouldn't let me. He's like, no, don't, take that money and go buy, Rich Dad Poor Dad from Barnes and Nobles. That's what he said. So that's what I did. And I read the book, and that book kind of was like, wow, that book is basically about real estate investing. And that kind of shifted my mindset. I'm like, this is something that I want to do, right? It basically talks about how you have time freedom through investing in real estate. I'm like, this seems like the ticket. So I always had that. At that point, I was interested in real estate. And then, so I was always thinking about getting into it. I'm like, well, I'll get into real estate to learn how to invest, at least learn the lingo, etc. Fall of 2015, I'm like, well, I'm doing the lawn care business and I'm also going to school. Let me do this semester of school. I'll see how it goes. And if I can add another thing, I will. So fast forward spring of 2016, that winter break, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely adding it. So I studied up, took the test, got it. And then I started as an agent in 2016. Yeah.
Okay.
Did you know all that?
Well, yeah, most of it, but I didn't know that story about the Rich Dad Poor Dad, how you got introduced to that book. I didn't know that backstory.
Yep. And that ended up being a real estate client too in the future. But yeah, so, you just never know what kind of impact you're going to have on somebody.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's continue moving on here if we're just kind of going in chronological order.
Yep.
So real estate starts to pick up, and I'm just going to ask this for kind of a good laugh, but how did you possibly keep the lawn care business afloat? Any employees that kind of jumped in to help out, or?
That's a loaded question. But anyway, where Holly is going with this is, so 2016, there was a lot going on. Honestly, an amazing year. I was at UWMC going to school, right? Well connected with friends. A lot of my friends were at UWMC as well. So relationships were good, friends were good. And I was doing lawn care business and studying. Like, it was a lot of fun, lots of stuff going on. New stuff too with real estate. And anyway, but then it got a little bit overwhelming. In that first year of real estate, that was 2016, I did 26 real estate transactions, and I was also a full-time student and then doing the lawn care business, and there was other stuff going on too. But anyway, my parents have always been super supportive, right? And that's, one thing that means the world to me is they could see that I was super busy, and they were just like, what can we do to help? And so I would have about 25 lawns that I would do, and I would typically do them on Sundays and Thursdays. That's when I did lawns. I would do the lawns that were further out, and we would have local route that was pretty close to our home, and my parents would take care of those. So I probably did 15 lawns on Thursday and Sunday, and then they would probably do the other 10 during the week, just throughout the week. And I remember one time too, like this memory just is ingrained in my mind. One time, my mom and dad, my dad got home from work at about 6, and he didn't even step foot in the house. Mom had like a lunch sack for him. They loaded up the trailer, like he parked the car. Mom had everything ready to go with the truck and the gear, and they were out. Like, it was literally like cinematic. It was like 30 seconds later, they were in the truck pulling out to my dad got home, and 30 seconds later, like, he did one ratchet strap and they're out, like, doing, heading to the next job. So just an unbelievable, like, amount of support from my parents, and like, which is fantastic. So they were really the ones that, allowed that all to happen.
Right. No, it's just cool to hear, because I think you know this. I mean,
Yeah.
people are like, wow, Austin does so much business, and they just kind of look up to you, especially newer agents kind of getting into the business
Yeah.
in terms of volume and growth over the years.
Yeah.
But really, it's kind of interesting to hear the backstory, just all the support and help from family, from friends, and just mentors over the years. It's definitely collaborative in seeing that growth. So
Yep.
I'm just gonna throw kind of a curveball question at you here.
Okay.
So being a pretty close family over the years, what qualities or things about mom and dad would you say have really helped you either just become who you are, or things that you maybe just admire about each of them have kind of really played an impact on how you've grown into an adult?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of things that my parents have passed on, but I would say a couple of things. Growing up, we never like sat around. My parents were always doing something, right? And most of the time, like I'm just thinking, Dad, he always was helping someone else. Like he's a super selfless guy, and he would always take care of his stuff last, right? So if someone else needed help, like around doing a project, or if someone else needed something, in the church or wherever it was, he would just take care of it. Like that's what he would do. There's very few like afternoons where Dad would like sit down and watch a game, on TV. Like that just wasn't something that we did. Like we were always moving. Mom, she worked a little bit growing up. So as a kid, my mom worked like 0.1, very seldom, right? Mm-hmm. But she would stay at home, but she always had like activities planned. Like there was never a dull day. Like we were always doing something, So I think that like from dad kind of taught, Dad's kind of a soft-spoken helper. He's very, he works hard for other people. And I think that was passed on to me. I think that one of the things that I do well in real estate is that people get a sense of that they trust me, right? And I think I learned that from Dad in that there's times when you really have to like listen and kind of be more soft-spoken, but there's also times, right, and the Dad taught me this too, right, where you have to be tough and you have to stand up for what's right. And there's times in real estate you got to, like you said, there's highs and there's lows, and sometimes in real estate you have to go to bat for your clients and for others. And I think obviously there's times that my dad has gotten upset with me over the years, and he's not afraid to crack the whip either.
Right.
So from my mom, I think, she always demonstrated a high level of care, right? She always was concerned about our well-being, right? And I think that she kind of she understood me, right? Like it was always the little things that kind of meant a lot to me. So they wouldn't, like for example, and I live with my parents between obviously 0 and I think I moved out when I was like 21, 22 maybe.
Yeah.
And so I was with my parents for a while, and in the last few years, right, like between 18 and 21 that I still live with my parents, they just knew, like, they never pushed me to leave the house, right? They never impressed on me what they thought I should do. They never thought like to tell me what like next steps to take. They said, hey, we're going to support Austin in everything that he wants to do. And we're not even going to ask him what he wants us to do. Like, we're just going to look and evaluate what things need to be done, and we're going to support him in that. So like my mom, like it would mean the world to me. Like when I would come home at like 9:00 at night, when in the first 2 years of real estate, first 3 years of real estate, and you knew this because we lived together. I mean, I would come home sometimes at 9:30, 10:00 at night. I'd be gone at 8 and come home at 10. Mm-hmm. And you know how much it meant to have like a cooked meal? Mm-hmm. It meant the world, and so, all those little things that mom and dad would do, I think that they would really like address a situation, see what I needed, and not like, and just support me.
Yeah.
It was a long-winded answer.
We kind of brought it full circle, though, just so everyone can kind of get to know get to know
Yeah.
the family and kind of how that all came to be. So
Yep.
I'm getting all tuckered out of questions here. Let me think if I can throw one last curveball at you before the end of the episode here.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just end with, as you think ahead, I mean, the day-to-day sometimes is enough to sift through.
Yeah.
But as you think ahead, you're young. Where do you see yourself in the next, let's just say even 20 years?
Oh.
That's double your life from now. Let's go.
That's good. One of the things, the way I live my life is I look ahead, right? I'm very much a kind of, what's the saying that I'm trying to go for here? I'm very like frugal, right? I'm trying to, I don't like don't spend money that I don't have, right? I'm very much like, hey, you work hard now and enjoy.
Delayed gratification.
Yeah, delayed gratification, right? The law of the harvest, right? Like I'm going to sow the seeds and I'm going to farm and then eventually like the field will be plush. But anyhow, so I look ahead. I don't really have like, concrete 5, 10, 20-year goals, right? So I really live each day with gratitude in that, like, I don't think that far ahead. But I do think that, in the next 20 years, I'd like to, for those of you that don't know, like, in the last 5.5 years, I've put a ton of time into growing the real estate business and helping out buyers and sellers. And I super love it, right? I enjoy lots of it. And there's parts of it that you don't enjoy, right? And as we grow as a team, the goal is for me to be able, for us as a team, right, to be able to work hard and serve clients well, but for it to not ever be like so much on one person that they feel overwhelmed or out of balance, right? And so I've been tilted more to the side of work in the last 5.5 years, and I'm okay with that. That's by design. And in the next the next 10 years or so, the goal is to tilt towards the side of life a little bit more. And what that means is that I want to grow the team and I want to grow others around us, right? So that we can all work together to achieve a great goal. And I'd love to like lead the team. And then also kind of explore other things, I'm more on the life side of things, right? A family, marriage, all those different things that, I really haven't dabbled in as much because I've just been tilted in the side of work.
Right.
So, yeah.
I think that's all I got. Any lasting comments or last couple of things to share?
That's kind of the story of Austin. I mean, everything else, is pretty much just we're just excited to help people out in real estate and also excited to learn and to grow in all aspects of life. And thanks for the interview.
All right, we'll catch you on the next one. 51's not as exciting, but hey, woot woot for 50.